Behind me is a 2017 Ford Focus Electric. In fact, it's my Ford Focus Electric. And I'm here to tell you why it is the absolute fucking worst electric vehicle you can possibly purchase. Let's take a closer look, shall we? Now, the Focus Electric is based off of the third generation North American Focus platform. In fact, I personally have owned three gasoline versions of the Focus: a year model 2000 Focus ZX3, a year model 2007 Focus ZX3, and a year model 2015 Ford Focus ST. Those are objectively way better vehicles than this. In fact, out of all the Focus vehicles that I've owned thus far, the Focus ST has a very special place in my heart because that car is a great alternative to the Volkswagen GTI and some other comparable hot hatches sold in the North American market around the same model year. This, however, is not going to have a good place in my heart because it has been an absolute train wreck of an ownership experience. Now, first off, it's actually a very nice design. Four-door hatchback, decent room for a compact commuter vehicle, and you would think with all-electric powertrain and you got your full amount of torque at 0 RPM, it should have this potential of being such a fun little go-getter in the city. But I'm here to tell you that is simply not the case. Let's take a closer look at why it's slightly flawed. One of my biggest complaints with this vehicle is the lack of storage in the cargo hold. Now, you would normally think in the trunk of a Ford Focus hatchback, it should be pretty reasonable versus the other competition in the class. Now, keep in mind, the same time that this was being manufactured, you had other vehicles such as the Nissan Leaf, you also had the Volkswagen e-Golf. Again, four-door hatchbacks, very reasonably and comparably priced, and all things considered, pretty practical, right? Ford thought, here, hold my beer, we're going to do something different. And this is what they decided to do. This massive hump steals so much cargo area because that is how Ford decided that they were going to store the battery pack or a portion of the battery pack within the vehicle. Yes, this is what you get when you try to shoehorn in an electric drivetrain into a vehicle that was designed for a gasoline or diesel powertrain. Nothing good really comes of it, and this is a perfect example. The depth I really should have brought to 1 gallon jugs to demonstrate the point that it's actually very, very limited in space. In fact, I actually think I do have a gallon of water. Give me a second. Aha, I do. All right, so watch this. 1 gallon jug, right? All right, let me show you how limited it is. There you go. This is right up against the back of it. I could barely fit 2, and that would be a squeeze. That is how limited this trunk area is. You would think, okay, we'll just take it to the grocery store or what have you. No, it doesn't work as sensibly as that. It's incredibly flawed with cargo area. Now, a plus thing is that the interior space is for the passengers is actually not compromised. It's actually the same layout as a gasoline North American spec Ford Focus four-door hatchback. It's actually very comfortable. So I guess you got that going for it, but yeah, the cargo area, it is an absolute farce. And also too, you can put the seats down flat, but guess what? You have that massive battery pack that's stealing all the cargo. Why, Ford? Who signed off on that? Was somebody just phoning it in for the day, in the meeting for the development of this vehicle and thought, yeah, sure, that won't be a problem whatsoever. I mean, seriously, guys. I mean, thankfully they got it fixed with the F-150 Lightning and the Mustang Mach-E, but that? Now look, I am a huge believer. If you have nothing good to say, you shouldn't say anything at all. So I would like to say some good things about this vehicle. First off, the year model 2017 and 2018 introduced this. This has support for DC fast charging. And I will say the DC fast charging, this is one of the biggest selling points, in my opinion, of this vehicle, why I thought it was going to be a phenomenally great choice for a simple commuter vehicle that was fully electric. So, if you've ever had any experience with other electric vehicles, you will know that one of the biggest pain points that most EV drivers have is the amount of speed per kilowatt hour that can be taken from a charger under ideal conditions into the vehicle's battery system, and also the charging curve. Without getting too into the weeds with this, what you need to know is this vehicle is rated for 50 kilowatt hour DC fast charging capabilities at a so equipped DC fast charging station under ideal conditions. Now, that being said, this vehicle, in all fairness where fairness is due, this actually does 50 kilowatt hours pretty consistently. In my very limited time that I've been able to drive the car, particularly driving from California back to Las Vegas, yes, I was able to do 3 separate DC fast charging stops, and each time the vehicle consistently held at 48, if not 50 kilowatt hours, as indicated on the display screen at the Electrify America stations. Now, outside ambient temperature was in the mid to low 50s Fahrenheit, so it wasn't too hot, but it was road tripping, and it was after several charging stops. Most other vehicles I've had, the battery pack will heat up and it will start to slow down the rate of recharge. The other thing I absolutely love is the charging curve. This vehicle will hold 48, 45, 50 kilowatt hours well up to 90% of indicated battery charge, which is unheard of with most other vehicles. Most other modern electric vehicles that have lithium-ion batteries will start to taper off around like 70, 75, 80% and then kind of fall off the curve. Ford has it designed to where it will hold that full amount of charge under ideal conditions right up to 90%. That is very practical and very helpful when you have to take a long road trip. So again, there were so many things about this vehicle that I wanted to love. So let's go ahead and talk about the interior of this vehicle. Now that's where you're going to be spending most of the time in it. And that was another reason I decided to go with the Ford Focus Electric. The Ford Focus Electric, the one thing is it shares a lot in common with the gasoline version of the North American Ford Focus. And one of those great attributes is it has hands down one of the most comfortable seats in the industry, in my personal opinion, in this particular price class and other similar vehicles that were manufactured around like year model 2016 to 2018 in this price point that they were selling for. Ford has certainly always had really good high marks, in my personal opinion, in that always very comfortable seats, great bolstering, just overall a pretty pleasant place to be. And I can tell you, the sound deadening and overall cabin experience is fantastic in this vehicle. So let's go ahead and do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and give you a quick tour of this vehicle specifically. Let me go ahead and turn down the audio just to make sure I don't get any copyright strikes, because that's not going to be good at all. All right, so let's go ahead and take a closer look. So this is equipped with Sync 3. That was another thing I wanted to have. I wanted to have support for Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Luckily, this vehicle has that. So what we're going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and show you the infotainment screen. All right, so the great thing is it's actually pretty responsive, pretty quick and snappy. Nothing much really to complain there, which is fantastic. The resolution isn't as high as, say, the infotainment screen on the same year model Volkswagen e-Golf. I had one of those, and it had a slightly larger and higher resolution screen as well. But again, it gets the job done. It does have support for HD radio. It comes with the Sony upgraded audio system, which sounds fantastic from the factory. And then if we go here into the main sync system, again, pretty snappy response. It's not sluggish at all. It has built-in navigation, but honestly, most people just usually use Apple CarPlay or Android Auto most of the time. And the other thing I absolutely love is this feature. If you take a closer look here, on the left side of your screen, I'm zooming in here on the left side of the gauge cluster. You see where it says budget view. On the left, you have budget status, and on the right, you have the little battery icon with the guessometer indicating what the car estimates you should do. Let me explain the absolute brilliance of budget and status. So the idea is pretty simple. You're driving down the road. Depending on how well and efficient you are driving, status will turn into a positive number, or depending on how inefficient you're driving, it will turn into a negative number. So it shows you as you drive down the road, budget is what the car says from when you started, what your mileage should be at that point. Status will show you if you're driving in an efficient manner or a inefficient manner. And it makes it dead simple to figure out if that is the best possible way that you can be operating the vehicle. Honestly, from working in the car sales business and explaining electric vehicles to clients, that is hands down one of the biggest challenges, is adequately setting an expectation of how your driving style in the terrain and climate control usage can have a direct impact overall as to how far you can go per charge. Budget and status, I wish was in more vehicles because it makes it so simple for the average person to understand how far they can realistically go per charge. It's fantastic. Okay, so here's another perfect example of Ford cutting corners, and it has to do with the exterior lighting situation. So on my specific trim level of the Ford Focus Electric, I do not have the optional leather or leather alternative interior. I just have the regular cloth seating. But the lighting though, take a look at this. So right now I just have the parking lights on, and I don't know if you can tell so well with this, but there's this very subtle LED trim strip that's built into the headlight module. Now, normally, when the vehicle is in full auto lighting mode, it will not have any type of daylight running lights whatsoever. The only time that little LED strip is illuminated that I've observed is when you have the parking lights on, or if you have the full headlights on. That is the only time you have that little LED strip. Ford, this car was made in 2017. Why are there no daytime running lights of any sort on this car during normal daylight hours? It makes no sense. Every other manufacturer has some type of little LED trim light or something to satisfy the which I thought at the time was a requirement for daytime running lights, but certainly not with this vehicle. Again, why cheap out? It's built into the car. It makes absolutely no sense. So again, that's a little nitpicky thing, but still, it just seems like somebody was just kind of sleeping on the job when they designed this vehicle. Very strange decisions made on this car overall. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk driving dynamics. One of the things I absolutely love about this Ford Focus Electric is, for all things considered, it's not the most punchy powertrain, but dang it if it doesn't have some really good pull, and that's one of the advantages of the electric drivetrain. When compared to the gasoline powertrains that were offered in the North American market, this one's just smooth, steady power delivery, as one would expect from a full electric EV. Now, that being said, one of the absolute downsides of this is it's definitely tuned to be a bit more slower tipping. So, perfect example, if you've ever... Actually, hang on. Okay, so this is going to be fun. I haven't the slightest freaking clue if I'm going to be able to get to the charging station, because remember I was saying earlier about budget and status in this indicated range. It's effectively a glorified guessometer. Take a look at this. This is the worst possible thing. Yep, there we go. Perfect timing. Oh my god, I absolutely hate it. Why do you do this? I don't want to hear low battery, you ass. So, 10 miles of indicated range. Oh, for fuck's sakes, this is not cool. All right, hang on. It says that I can actually get off, so we're gonna go ahead and get off there. So you see where it says my budget should have been 29 miles. My status is negative 19. And yet Google Maps says to my destination, I got about 8.3. Yeah, it's gonna be just a little hair-raising to put it nicely. I haven't the slightest freaking clue if I'm gonna be able to make it to the Electrify America charging station. Man, damn it, if this thing does not do a rapid charge at the full 50 kilowatt hours and get rocking and rolling, I am in a really bad predicament. Let me tell you what, that is not gonna be cool at all. Oh man, this is the last FU from this vehicle. I swear it is. It's just like, I know you're getting rid of me in the next day or two, but gosh darn it, this is going to be the last middle finger that the car throws at me. I swear it is. So we got to take city streets and do more stop and go driving, and hopefully I will be able to get to my destination. I'm going to go ahead and turn off heated seats and all climate control, even though it was just outside air. And then I might have to crack the windows a little bit so I got some fresh air going. But yeah, this is the worst compliance car ever. 115 miles EPA indicated range off of this battery pack. That is an absolute freaking lie. It may be 105, but it is sure as hell not anywhere close to what the EPA said it could get. Now, I get it. The ambient air temperature outside is 46 degrees Fahrenheit, but still, oh my God, this is just, it's definitely very hair-raising, and it is certainly not something that I am having fun with. You know what? I'm just gonna keep going on the street, and hopefully more stop and go traffic will get it my way. I hate this. This is range anxiety. This is only one of 2 cars I've ever had that have legitimately put me through range anxiety. I freaking hate it. It's a crappy car. Do not buy this vehicle. Oh my God. It is just, truly terrible experience. Now, when you're not dealing with range anxiety, let me tell you about some of the good things. First off, it is super freaking quiet in here. As you can tell, very, very quiet, minimal road noise. It's fantastic. What is not to love? But that being said, it's definitely, it's not the most spirited driving. There is no sport mode on this vehicle. There's regular drive with normal regen, and then there's low gear or L. That is going to give you the most aggressive regenerative braking, which is how I normally drive with the vehicle. From my personal experience, I've tried driving it with both regular drive and low gear. I haven't found that much of a difference in terms of, the throttle response. It's pretty muted. The best way I can describe it is, let's say that you have a vehicle like a traditional hybrid vehicle or gasoline vehicle with an eco mode or a driving coach mode. It will intentionally limit how soon the electronic throttle will give you the full amount of power. And that's the same with this vehicle. When I have my Volkswagen e-Golf, the Volkswagen e-Golf performed way differently. That was definitely much more of a driver's car. You could certainly feel that German DNA with the way that Volkswagen made that vehicle. And I keep going back to that, but honestly, all things being equal between a Nissan Leaf, a Volkswagen e-Golf, or the Ford Focus Electric, I would say go with a Volkswagen e-Golf. As long as it's got DC fast charge capability, you are going to have a tremendously better driving experience, ownership experience with that vehicle. At least that's been my personal opinion. So yeah, this, for compliance cars, this is just a big old heaping of fail. I'm sorry. But at the end of the day, average person is not really concerned with it that much. The average person is usually concerned with what is going to give them the most economical value for their money. And the Ford Focus Electric is pretty good. So, if you just want a plain Jane basic A to B type of car, and you don't really care too much about driving dynamics and
you know, cargo practicality, stuff of that sort, then yeah, I guess this is a perfectly good car. But you might get the occasional reliability issue with the electric propulsion system, as I did, or you may get the issue with the second thing that added to that substantial wait time is right when they had to replace the electric motor under warranty. Well, they put it back together. They couldn't get the car to go into park. Come to find out, the little pull, the little gear that clicks in an automatic transmission to put a car into park, and then transmission that failed during reassembly or disassembly. The point is they had to replace a portion or that component on the transmission under warranty. It certainly was not... it was just a comedy of errors with this freaking repair, and that's what took it so long. And the dealership network really let it down. There were so many opportunities. The selling dealership and then the dealership performing the service under warranty. They had so many opportunities to try to make it right, get out ahead of it from a customer service perspective. And they just failed miserably with that. They didn't. So yeah, it sucks, but it is what it is. Anyhow, that being said, let's go ahead and drive to the Electrify America station. Google Maps says I got 4 miles remaining. Indicated range on the guessometer is 8 miles. Maybe I'll make it, who knows. But right now I'm off the freeway and I'm on more surface city streets, so a lot more stop and go traffic. So let's see what happens. Okay, so great news. Just pulling into the local Target with Electrify America stations, and I am happy to report that the guessometer is currently showing 9 miles of range remaining. That whatever software or algorithm they use to figure this thing out is just all over the frickin' place. I swear to you it is. All right, let's figure out the best possible one to go to. 150 kilowatt hour station, good, because I do not want to take up the 350 kilowatt hour station because that's just poor etiquette, folks. Oh yes, pro tip, if you are new to owning an electric car, you will notice at Electrify America that they have a number attached to the bottom of them. Some of the arrays, like you see at Walmart, or in this case, the local Target, will show 150 kilowatt versus 350 kilowatt. Pro tip, even if you go to the higher outputs, such as the 350 kilowatt, if you do not have a vehicle that supports that full amount of power input, you're just showing really poor etiquette for blocking a station for somebody else that maybe does have a vehicle that can support up to that faster charging method, just because you think you're going to get more power. Don't take the higher kilowatt hour charging spot unless you have a vehicle that can support it. Now, here's the thing. If it's the only one that's available because the other ones are in use, which does happen quite often, and then, yeah, that's perfectly fine. But generally speaking, it is considered proper and polite to not take just the highest output just because you think it's going to charge your car quicker. If your car's only rated for 50 or 75 or 125 kilowatt hour, doesn't matter what charger you go to, it's going to max out at whatever the car can accept. Just a FYI there.
So there you go. That is my 2017 Ford Focus Electric. And I am happy to say that this abomination of a vehicle is no longer sold brand new on the market. Instead, we have the Mustang Mach-E and the Ford F-150 Lightning, which obviously there have been zero issues with the battery chemistry and indicated range based on what the EPA says that people should be getting. So I think Ford has absolutely nailed it when it comes to electrification in the modern era. But then again, not every company got it right. And I guess all things considered versus some other vehicles that were sold around this time period, it could have been much worse.